Hey everybody, Pasta Jardula from the Combo Couch here. I just want to give you a little synopsis on what was going on and what I've experienced here in my time in Honduras for the election. As you know, Combo Couch is election integrity observers, but scrutinizers as well. We look into every aspect of the election, point out what is good, what is bad, what we think works, the improvements that could be made, and just observe the whole situation to make sure it's democratic and fair. Me personally, when it comes to elections, I think it's one of the most important things. If you want to actually receive the will of the people, or have the will of the people, excuse me, you must have a fair democratic system, and that includes having fair elections. Coming from the United States, you can see the elections, some of them lately have been really, really crazily, objected to by certain people. The election system in America is one of the worst that I've experienced now that I'm going on my third leg over here in Latin America, from going from Nicaragua to Peru to now Honduras. So let's talk about the Honduras elections and stuff. The elections itself, and then we'll talk about the ramifications, because it's important as an anti-imperialist and foreign policy guy. We understand what this means. When it comes to what happened in 2009 when Manuel Zelaya was removed from his house in a coup, supported by the West, the Hillary Clinton State Department under Barack Obama, and we remember what happened. What happened then followed in Honduras, how the country was thrusted into kind of like a world of chaos. Juan Orlando Hernandez has been in power for quite some time. And in 2017, Honduras had an election which came under major scrutiny because there was so many irregularities. In fact, towards the end of the election, the Libre Party was up by 5%. And then the electricity went out, or something happened, malfunctions with the computers, who knows. And when they came back online, that 5% lead was reduced down to almost nothing, and eventually Juan Orlando Hernandez won by less than 50,000 votes, I think it was around, and has been in power ever since. A lot of people feel that it's been unjust. A lot of people feel that it's been a dictatorship, that it was another kind of electoral coup of sorts, that the people of Honduras were never really represented by the people they wanted, the governors and the leaders they wanted to lead the country. So, fast forward to 2021 over here, Zamora Castro, who is Manuel Zelaya's wife, running for the Libre Party again, with new rules in the election system to see what would happen as far as trying to improve it. In other words, the irregularities and the inaccuracies in the 2017 election, and we know this because we spoke with Mel, aka Manuel Zelaya, about the changes that were made. The Libre Party did their homework this time. They implemented some new processes that were really helpful. The things that cost them the election in the last election, that was 2017, they put in fail-safes. They made the push for it and learned every part of the system. Does that mean they created the perfect system? No. There were flaws in the system itself, and we'll discuss those right now. However, right now, as we speak, this is the day after the election. It is Monday. It is about 11:30 a.m. I think we have about 55% of the votes in. Zamora Castro has a massive lead, a lead that would be called right now in most elections, where her opponent, Tito, that's his name from the Nacional Party, is sitting around 38, 39%. I think it's around there. I'd have to look at the numbers and stuff. But that's where we're at. We're almost like a 10-point lead, which is a demanding lead, and it should be all but over. And one thing that I heard that was great is that last election, even though there were a lot of inaccuracies, the National Party still had a lot of power here in the capital of Tegucigalpa. And this time, that has been overturned, that the Libre Party has actually overcome that support here and actually won inside the capital itself, which would spell nothing but trouble for the party that's in control right now, the National Party, trying to maintain its power, a Western-friendly government that has been oppressive and drug trafficking, narcotics, with the likes of, I'm sure, the CIA, because they run everything when it comes to drug trafficking. So, will they lose their grip on power? Will they maintain it? Remember last time in 2017, we saw a big lead. It was a 5% lead. Not this. This one is obviously bigger, but a lot of things could happen. I made a tweet yesterday. I hope that a water pipe doesn't burst, aka what we saw in Georgia, where they moved everybody out of the building, and then all of a sudden ballots came out from underneath the table and they started counting. Or the electricity goes out, which they experienced in 2017, and then it goes back on, and that lead is erased. So, I mean, you can never tell what the Western government's going to do, the United States. So we're just going to hold on, keep our fingers crossed, and pray that the will of the people is what we end up with is our result. Now let's talk about the election themselves. In the last election, 2017, talking to the Libre Party, they had discussed that a lot of people who were dead or not citizens of Honduras mysteriously voted and inflated the vote count for the National Party. So what they implemented this time around was a biometric systems in which they would use their fingers, their thumbs, their hands to get checked in. This was supposed to be a roadblock for any extra type of votes that would get in there that weren't allowed to be. Dead people cannot vote now. Obviously, they can't bring their hands and whatnot. And that system was put in place for that fail-safe. Now, the ideology behind a biometric system for people to sign in sounds like a great thing, but it can cause problems, especially when the National Party got the contract, which was by Smartmatic. And when you see Smartmatic being an election integrity activist, your antennas go up and you get a little nervous and you say, wait a second, I don't know if this is a good thing. They've been known to play a part in election rigging in different countries all around the world. The Philippines is one of the ones that comes to mind where they just pretty much just awful. But that was with the tabulation part. This kind of system mirrored what Venezuela was doing as far as checking people in. So a good idea, yes, but obviously we're going to see some flaws. And we did. In one of our live streams, we have 3 people in a row trying to check in through the biometric systems. There was 2 people. The third person we saw it didn't work for them. And then we filmed it. And that caused a line. Now, when I talk about accessibility for elections, I always talk about expediency, getting through quickly. What we witnessed in the Nicaragua elections was an average time to vote of almost 5 minutes, which is great. You get in, you get out, you can get a lot of people, whatnot, and that's great for populist candidates where you want as many people voting, the will of the people, to get as many people in and out. The biometric system slowed people down. Hopefully they'll still overcome it, but that system, implementing that system, might not have been the best thing to do, but it was implemented, and that was one thing we saw. So we did see lines. At one particular vote center, we saw a gentleman who waited almost 2 hours, he told us. And the line was just ridiculous. It was a big line outside. They weren't as organized here in Honduras as they were in Nicaragua. In several vote centers, they had to put juntas, which are the actual voting rooms, together into one room because they didn't have enough room in these places, and that caused for a lot of jamming up and whatnot. So that was a problem too as well. But once again, the National Party was in charge of the whole process. The Libre Party did play a part. So that does cause a little confusion. And sometimes that's what they want. It's not like a direct election rigging kind of mechanism. But if you can do it indirectly by causing long lines and, causing chaos and confusion. The CNE website was down yesterday and it was down the night before. And they were moving polling locations. So it's an indirect way of election rigging of sorts, but I think that the Libre Party overcame it because they were very, very prepared. Something that I think they have to change with their elections here in Honduras moving forward is that when you go to a polling spot, a vote center, you have to go check in with your party. Unless you can find it online, which the website was down, but you normally go to your party. So if I'm a member of the Libre Party, I go to my Libre tent, they write down where I got to go vote, and I go to that junta and vote. I hate that system. For the future, if I'm a nefarious or sinister character, I'm going to have somebody watch these tents, and I'm going to know who's in what party, and then I can intimidate them in the elections to come, or I can bribe them. And with an issue here in Honduras where they saw people who have their votes sold, like in the last election, that's a problem that's being created for the future by checking in with your party. So if the parties, whoever gets this election moving forward, as far as if the Libre Party does take control, that is something they want to change. In Nicaragua, it's just one big table. There are computers. You bring your ID. They tell you exactly where to go. It's very expedient. And the vote is then secured. If I have to go check into a party table first, now you know who I'm voting for, right? It's kind of obvious. So that's something I hope they change for the future. Second, I hope they do eliminate the biometric system. And 3, the counting process is pretty cool too as well. I really like that. This is something we don't get in America. Where inside the juntas, and we got to witness this the other day, they would eventually they would close the doors, and they would start moving everything in place and get ready for the counting process. Then they would open the doors, and they would stand with one person at the chalkboard, another person handing the ballots, and they would open it up. Vote, Ziomara, and you'd hear the crowd outside watching, yay, and they could stay 4 meters away. So a transparent counting process is amazing, it really is. That's something we don't get in America, and I think that's something that's amazing that we were able to witness. So those are certain things that I think are amazing, some things they need to change, but the process itself is great. So now we are at just that waiting point right now as they are finishing up the tallies of the actas, which are the actual receipts of what's going on. Like Terry said, Terry Masterson of Code Pink, the opening of the door of the parties and the CNE I think is great because people have questions. We need the answers. So if we get the answers, this is great. The other thing I just want to point out that I really like what's happening as far as what's going on as far as observers and journalists as far as us doing that. We're communicating with each other. I was in constant communication, watching what Terry was doing, what she was experiencing. She was at different parts. She was with the CNE. We had credentials from the Libre Party, so we had a different perspective. But for us to communicate, I think it's really, really important. It's important for the future of elections because not only can we get these elections straight here, and give them advice as far as what they can do better and whatnot, we can hopefully bring them home one day and get fair elections. This was supposed to be a 3-minute kind of video. It's been a 10-minute video. But anyways, thank you very much. Pasta Jardula Convo Couch here in Honduras, experiencing these elections. I give them a B minus, maybe a solid B. Yeah, solid B. But that's because I'm very tough on elections and whatnot. The check-in process was a little bit messed up. Like I said, we can fix that. The biometrics, I would ditch that. But anyways, thank you so much. Convo Couch, amazing experience. Convo out.